We are getting to the final stretch of the season. I can't wait to share it all with you guys. Welcome, tennis fans, to Tennis Traverse Exploring the Game, the podcast that delves into the heart of the tennis world. I'm your host, Ivy Jang. And in today's episode, I'll be analyzing and predicting the Paris Masters Tournament of 2024. And before we start, I do want to mention that I have a newsletter, and because Paris Masters is one of the bigger tournaments, I would say, I have a draw predicted, like a full draw in a PDF of me predicting, and you guys can follow along if you subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the show notes, and it's a Substack link. So beside the PDF you'll get from me, it is included basically in an email that I send every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is like a glimpse into Monday's episode. And yeah, I've been doing this for a long time now, and it's just a really short email that's sent to your inbox, I guess. And I think the draw will really help you guys because it has everything on it, and even more that I would be able to talk about because there's just too much stuff that I can't talk about. Like in the draw I have a key that's like stars means like good matchup, or like top seeds, my favorite players to look out for, and upsides. I'll have it analyzed, so please just put your email in, and it's just going to be one email again. So yeah, I hope you guys would consider subscribing, and let's get right into today's episode. So I want to begin by saying that this Paris Masters is a little different in a way that the defending champion isn't going to be here defending his title, and that is Novak Djokovic. So Novak made it to the final of Shanghai and lost to Jannik Sinner in 2 straight sets, and I think this year he achieved his main goal, which is to win the Olympics title. So after that, I feel like he really doesn't have a clear goal anymore for this season, and for the next season, maybe he'll find a way to maybe chase another goal or another dream of his. But for now, I feel like this season just ends for him. I don't think there's much more motivation for him to continue on this season, maybe because he didn't earn any Grand Slam titles this season. That will be his goal next year, is to earn maybe 1 or 2 more Grand Slams, and I think next year will be maybe his last like full year on tour. I'm not sure, but I think next year he'll play like a pretty packed schedule, maybe even tighter than this year, because I feel like he's just been withdrawing from a lot of tournaments this year, and a lot of the big tournaments that he played, for example like Shanghai, I feel like almost had like an exhibition feel to it. Like he wasn't really playing to, maybe obviously he's playing to gain the points, but I feel like he also just wanted to get the business opportunities that there is in China. But yeah, I think I want to start off by talking about the top seeds that I think really have a chance of winning this tournament. So there's 2 obvious ones, which is Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. So I will start off by talking about Sinner's half, since he is number 1 seed. So in his half, we have obviously Jannik Sinner and Andre Rublev and Taylor Fritz, which are just some notable players that I think are performing really well right now. And there are also other players such as Zverev and Tsitsipas, who are obviously top ranked, but I just think they haven't been performing well towards the end of the year, or maybe even the entire year, in the case, I think, of Tsitsipas. So it's just, I feel like Sinner and Rublev, or even maybe Fritz, I think, have a chance of really making it out of the half. Now we'll talk about my favorites in this half. So I have Jack Draper and Lorenzo Musetti. I think Draper, he made it to Vienna's final this week, and he will be playing against Karen Khachanov tomorrow, which is Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So that will be a fun matchup for sure. I think he really didn't play too well in the semifinal. I think his opponent just completely broke down. And in the case of Musetti, he did manage to beat Alexander Zverev, so in Vienna as well. So I think he's just playing at the top of his game right now. I think it's the best season he's ever had. So these are 2 players that I'm really looking forward to looking at. And there's also another player that I think you guys should definitely look out for, which is Arthur Fils. So because this is played in Paris and Arthur Fils is from France, so I think he's going to have the crowd's energy behind him. And I just think that he's performing really well, and I have him personally going really far. I have him beating Musetti in the second round, beating Zverev in the third, beating Rublev in the fourth, and then eventually losing to Jannik Sinner in the semifinals. But I do have him going really far because I think he really have the skills to go really far, and I think he's been working on his mental a lot, and especially with the Paris crowds behind him, I think he'll hype them up. And I just have a good feeling about this. And I really look forward to Fils' second round match against Musetti. I think it will be one of the best matches of this entire tournament. And now I want to talk about some first round matchups that you guys should look out for. The first one being Jack Draper versus Jiří Lehečka. So I think a lot of the Czech players, such as Lehečka and Thomas Mahach, are just playing really well. I think sometimes they're playing at the best level, and sometimes they just can't play at all. I think there's really a range. I mean that there's like an extreme. They either play incredibly well, or they play just, to be honest, like not good. And I think it's kind of random. I think we really don't know what we can get. But if Draper plays against a Lehečka that's like not good, then Draper will advance easily. But if he plays against a top level Lehečka, I think it will be such a quality match. I think it will be incredible. And I think he needs a challenge, because I think during his US Open run, even though he made it really far and he definitely played like his best tennis, he didn't face against a lot of players that are just at their top level. Like a lot of the players he faced just suddenly couldn't play tennis anymore when they faced him, and I think he needs these challenges, especially at the top stages, because I feel like he needs to train his body more, because every time he plays at like these top stages, I think he gets injured really easily. I think he's one of those players that are more injury prone. So really interested to see this matchup. And another matchup that I am looking forward to this round is between Nuno Borges and Alessandro Tabilo. I think it will just be an incredible match, because I think they both are playing well, but I think I heard more of them from last season. So it's the end of this season, and I'm really interested to see how they will maybe end their final tournament of the year, which is insane to think about, because I think it's like basically the last Masters tournament. And yeah, I'm really interested to see what will happen. And I also have an upset, which is between Matteo Arnaldi and Holger Rune. I just think Matteo have the ability to upset Holger, because Holger's been not doing well at all, and I think he's just been needing constant like confidence boost. I think he needs to win a lot of tournaments to gain his confidence back. He's a player, in my opinion, that really feeds off his game. Like when he is able to win consecutively, he gains confidence. And he played a final against Djokovic, I believe 2 years back, where he actually beat Djokovic in a final. One of the best matches I've ever watched, hands down. I'll leave a link for you guys in the show notes as well. But it was such a good match. And I think he's been having less of those matches recently, but like losing them even, or just not playing well at all. And I think a lot of the matches he won, for example, are just easy matches. I think he's not trained well enough to win the matches that are super duper tight, and I think this will be interesting. And yeah, but I have Sinner and Fils going to the semifinals, and I think Sinner will come out on top, just because obviously he's Sinner and he's the world number one. But I do want to mention that there are issues such as his doping controversy that's on the line, and we really don't know what it would like how much it would take a mental toll on him, because we don't know how he's been dealing with it personally, even though before it came out during the US Open we didn't know about it at all, and he was like playing fine, he was still winning titles. So but now the public knows, so I'm really interested to see how he deals with it, because there's more level to it, just because of suddenly they're going to reconsider the case and everything like that. But yeah, I think Sinner still have the capability of making it far to the final. And I will now talk about the lower half, and just some players that are top leading the second half is Carlos Alcaraz, which is the number 2 seed, Daniil Medvedev, the number 4th seed, and I guess we can say Grigor Dimitrov, number 8th seed. So there's also other players such as Casper Ruud, but he's just been not performing well. I don't know. He started his year off winning so many matches. I think he's one of the players on tour that won the most matches, but he's just been falling off, except for the Roland Garros run. I think everything else, he's just been super quiet. But I think he's one of those players that, I don't know what happened, but he needs to sort of just make solid runs in tournaments consecutively, because he gains more confidence that way. And I feel like this year he did play with more aggressiveness, which lacked last year. Last year when I was watching him play, I keep on thinking that just go for your shots. I think he was always the one that was on defense and just running to every ball and just reaching. But this year, especially at the start of the year, I feel like he was attacking more and just going for his shots, especially on his backhand side. I feel like normally he just uses backhand sides to just try and get an opportunity to maybe attack on his forehand. But this year he's been going, like hitting some of his backhand shots beautifully, some down the lines that I think in an interview I heard him say that I don't care anymore, just let it rip and see what happens. And when you have a mindset like that, I think it's really important to just honestly just go for your shots, because you never know what will happen if you're just trying to keep the ball in play. And I think we've been seeing less of that as the year progressed, but obviously I don't think, like, it could be because of anything. I think maybe it's his physical body also taking a toll that doesn't allow him to hit those shots where he's just ripping his backhand. But obviously I'm not sure what's going on with him, so I don't think he's going to go really far. But apart from that, I think Alcaraz is going to go really far. And in the case of Daniil Medvedev, I think Medvedev will go far, but I just don't think he plays well at Paris. I think players such as Grigor Dimitrov will definitely be better, just because he had a magical run last year where he beat such good players. He was playing at such high levels, but however he lost to Djokovic last year, which was sort of, Djokovic, so it was kind of expected. But I think it might be biased, but it's part of me that really want Grigor to go really far, and I really hope he plays against Alcaraz in the semifinals. So let me talk about some star matchups that I think you guys should look out for. So I have Echeverry versus Zhang. So I think Zhang's been playing really well. I think this is also his best year on tour, just because he's been playing consecutively and just not even maybe winning those matches, but just playing consecutively and entering high stakes tournaments. I think is really important for players who's sort of just dipping their toes into like these high ranked sort of tournaments, if that makes any sense. And I also have the match between Thomas Mahach and Arthur Rinderknecht starred, which is like good matchup, because I don't know, I think like Rinderknecht is really funny to me. He likes to hype up the crowd a lot, and I don't know if you guys saw the drama at Roland Garros, but it was between him and Taylor Fritz, and it was really funny to me. But I think it will be incredible just to see how he feeds the energy of the French crowd. I think it will be really funny to me. Sorry I'm repeating what I'm saying, but yeah. I also have another match starred, which is between Alex Michelsen and Huber Hurkacz. I think Huber will win this matchup, but Michelsen is always a player that I think poses a threat to a seeded player just because of how hard he hits the ball and how cleanly he strikes the ball. So I think it will be one of the great matchups in the second half. So yeah, I really don't have a lot of sort of upsets in the second half, but just let me highlight some good matches that could happen. I think there could be a potential matchup between Dimitrov and Daniel Medvedev in the quarterfinals. I think I'm giving Dimitrov the edge here. I think he might be able to beat Medvedev just because, I don't know, he's been playing well and I just really want him. I think Paris is a place where he feels really comfortable and I really want him to go far. And there's another matchup between Paul and Alcaraz. I forgot to mention Paul. So Tommy Paul won a title, I think 2 weeks ago. And I think when you watch Tommy Paul play, he's at a stage where he is able to win titles when the best of the world, such as like Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner, aren't competing. But when those two are competing, I think Tommy Paul just always loses to them. I think like during my draw prediction, when I saw Paul will face Alcaraz in quarterfinals, there's no I didn't even think, and I put Alcaraz right up there because every time Tommy Paul plays against a player that's like the best, he will just lose. And I think that's something that's his next step in his game, is to try to challenge these players that are frankly just better than him. And he doesn't even really have to win. I think he just needs to maybe put up a fight and make it to like the third set or put it to the deciding set in a Grand Slam. He just needs to go for his shots and see what will happen, because I just think he's at a stage where he is winning his titles, but if you want like a big breakthrough, for example winning a Masters title or not even winning a Grand Slam, maybe going to the final of a Grand Slam like Taylor Fritz, he needs to beat these top ranked players, because that's just how the ranking and the draw works. So yeah, but as I said, I have Dimitrov and Alcaraz as my semi-finalist in this half, and I have Alcaraz advancing. I think, I don't know, Alcaraz will advance rather easily in my opinion. And between Alcaraz and Sinner, this is a matchup that I think everyone would want. This is also my ideal matchup, because I feel like when we see a lot of Alcaraz and Sinner matchups, it's all like, obviously it's almost always like good matches, but it's never like high stakes. The highest stake I think they played was when they faced each other in Beijing, which was a 500 tournament for the title. I think they've never played in such a high stakes final, and I think this will be the first. And even though Sinner, I believe, haven't beaten Alcaraz at all this year, I think he will have the edge, because I don't know, I just think Sinner have the ability, especially on just Paris grounds, to play well, because Alcaraz haven't had the best luck in my opinion in Paris. Last year he lost to Grigor Dimitrov, I believe, and I just think that he maybe doesn't play the best. Last year he lost to Roman Safiullin, which was just completely unexpected, because obviously, not taking anything away from Safullin's amazing, incredible, so talented, but he was like the number 2 seed and he received a bye in the first, played Safiullin and lost 3-6, 4-6. Obviously not the same player as he was at all, but I just really think that he really have a chance. He really doesn't like Paris as well as Sinner does. I think Sinner maybe haven't won a title in Paris, but he really have the ability to do so, and I think he would want to get revenge. So yeah, I have Sinner in 3, and I also do want to mention that my draw is based on just the seeded players and the players who are already entered for the qualifiers, because I'm recording this on a Saturday. The qualifying results aren't out yet, but I'm currently looking at the Paris Masters qualifying tournaments, and here are some players that are still in the qualifying that I think have a chance. of maybe stunning some of the seeded players, or the players, if they make it to the main draw. So I think Yuan Chao Keto will have a chance because he's been playing phenomenal, best tennis of his career so far. I also think Shang Juncheng, which is another Chinese player, he just played an entertaining qualifying match against James Duckworth. He lost the first set 2-7, won the second 7-5 in tiebreak, and won the third 6-4. So really interesting. And these are the players because it's just the first round of qualifying, but I think the actual tournament starts on Monday, which is when this episode will come out. Really excited because this is the last the last Masters of the season, and really interesting because after this we have the ATP finals, and I think a lot of players really want to use this as an opportunity to get more points and qualify for the ATP finals. But that's all for today's episode. This one is a bit longer than the last week's one because there's actually like a really exciting tournament that's going on. So I really hope you guys enjoyed, and please follow all of my social medias if you haven't already. That is Instagram and Twitter using @TennisTrivers. That is @TennisTrivers. If you're listening on YouTube, comment, like, and subscribe. I've been getting a lot more YouTube listeners, which is quite new for me, and I like it. If you guys are listening on YouTube, please tell me, comment down if you guys want to see like my face while recording it, or do you guys rather have it as like an audio, because I think like not having to see a video, it's just like the audio of the wavelength you guys can listen to it while you guys are just like walking or something. I think it's easier that way. But if you guys would prefer like a face, then please tell me. I'd be happy to do so. I think it's pretty easy. So but please give me a rating if you're listening on Spotify or other streaming platforms, and I'll see you guys next week where we will talk about the results of the Paris Masters and see if my predictions are good or bad. Okay, goodbye, see you next week.